If you've listened to any politician, you've heard about the middle class, and most Americans have said they're part of the middle class. A 2018 study surveyed over 2,000 adults and found that 68% of them considered themselves part of the middle class. But according to analysis of income trends, just about 52% were actually middle class. So who is really in the middle class? Many research firms define middle class households as making 2/3 to 2 times America's median income. That adds up to an income range of about $30,000 to $90,000 for single Americans. But there are many different ways to classify the middle class. As I just said, a single American making $30,000 to $90,000 every year is middle class. A household of 2 would have to earn $42,000 to $127,000 to qualify as middle class. A little over half of Americans surveyed said this range for being in the middle class were assets between $50,000 to $99,999. The average middle class household has about $70,000 in income after taxes and transfers. To be middle class, a household of 3 would have an income between $40,000 and $154,000. A 3-person middle class income household makes between $52,000 to $156,000 every year. A household of 4 would have to make $60,000 to $180,000. Households of 5 making roughly $67,000 to $201,000 are also considered part of the middle class. Households' income for the middle class has been on the rise over the last decade, although the pandemic still set them back a little. The median household income for a middle class household of 3 was $79,838. However, the share of adults actually living in a middle class household shrank from 61% in 1971 to 50% in 2021. The widening share of the income gap and the shrinking of the middle class has led to a steady decrease in the share of U.S. aggregate income held by middle class households. Incomes across all income levels have risen over the past 5 decades, but still hasn't been evenly distributed. Upper income 3-person households saw their income grow by 69% from 1970 to 2020. But middle class households just saw 50% growth during that time. 51% of adult men were actually middle class, while 49% of women were. Women are more likely to be lower income than men. But the rise in middle class income was attributed to women earning more in recent years. 52% of whites had middle class income compared to 47% of blacks and 49% of Hispanics. 84% of the middle class was white in 1979, while just 9% was black and 5% were Hispanic. Today, 59% of whites, 12% of blacks, and 18% of Hispanics are considered middle class. However, whites are more likely to be upper income than blacks and Hispanics. But there's more to that than just race groupings. The middle class held 27.6% of all household wealth. That's about $39.25 trillion. For comparison, the bottom 50%, those below middle class, have just 2.6% of all the wealth. The top 1% holds about 33% of the country's wealth. The level of household wealth of the middle class has climbed from $7.24 trillion since 1989. But it's not all assets and income that's driving the numbers of the middle class. The middle class is burdened with a lot of debt, and it's been growing. As of the end of 2021, they have $1.58 trillion in consumer credit debt. That's a $100 billion surge from the year prior. The middle class also took on about $300 billion more in home mortgages. The middle class also held a median of $21,700 in student loans. The upper middle class, however, has a median of $24,400 in student loan debt. But it also gets worse when comparing to the world's middle class. The US middle class is smaller than most fellow OECD countries. Across OECD countries, about 61% of the population is generally middle class, with the US share coming in at just 51%. 58% of Canadians are considered middle class. The OECD defines the middle class as households making between 75% to 200% of the median national income. But it's not all that bad. The global middle class lives on $10 to $20 a day, while the US middle class lives on $15.90 per day, giving them a higher quality of life. And of course, within the US, class is based on a peer structure. Location, income, and lifestyle play a factor in what is considered middle class. So what are your thoughts? Do you consider yourself middle class? Comment below. And as always, take care of your money.